Kung Fu Panda. What hasn't already been said about this franchise? Whether it be the striking and lively animation, emotionally intelligent and entertaining stories, as well as characters who break the mold in ways only the best ones do, I swear, each one of these movies, except the fourth one, is an incredible achievement in one form or another, and practically everybody has sung these movies' praises to the rooftops. But there's something about these movies that I have always wanted to talk about, mainly because whenever these movies are discussed, this element, despite being really powerful and relevant, especially in modern day, is practically overshadowed by every other positive. And today, I wanted to shine a light on what I believe to be the underappreciated aspect of these movies, that being how they handle the truth. Now, what am I talking about? What do I mean by the truth? Well, believe it or not, the truth is a common theme shared throughout each of these three movies, and it's the idea of truth itself that leads to the events of each story to unfold. And in fact, it is that idea of the truth and its positive and negatives which bind all of the characters together. From Po to Shifu to Oogway and even the villains, the idea of the truth is something that these movies perfectly reflect in the way it's represented. Almost every character holds an element of the truth, but I want to focus on three in particular today, that being the peace of the truth, the pain of the truth, and the consequence of denying that truth. Let's start with Po. Po, throughout all of these movies, is having to learn the truth about not only his past, but himself constantly. In the first movie, he learns the truth behind what makes him special. In the second movie, he learns the truth about his past. And in the third movie, he learns the truth about himself. Po in every movie is having to face some form of reality, and they are not always pleasant ones, such as the truth he already knows at the very start of the franchise, that being how he's unwanted. Aside from his dad, nobody wants to deal with Po. Not the locals, not the Furious Five, and especially Shifu. Nobody wants Po, and they make no secret of that fact, as while they never actively say it apart from Tigress, their actions represent that. And despite the pain of that truth, Po still pushes forward, as he confesses to Shifu, "It could never hurt more than it did every day of my life just being me." And yet, despite that pain, despite the bullying, he still persists. Po never allowed the truth to hold him back. He instead chose to challenge that truth by simply believing that it was himself that made him special, and not the title of Dragon Warrior. That, to me, is why the secret ingredient scene is so powerful, because Po finally is faced with the truth that's been staring him in the face for so long. That being, there is no secret ingredient. There is no special power that changes him, but rather his own self-belief and actions. And it's in finding this truth, as well as the truth in every other movie, that helps to make him feel whole, such as the tragic death of his mother. Despite the pain hurting beyond belief, he instead chooses to make peace with that truth and accept that these things really did happen, and in doing so is able to find inner peace. Po is the perfect example as to how you turn tragedy into beauty, with Po using every bit of the truth he learns to find peace within himself. But what happens when the exact opposite happens? What happens when a character can't find peace in the truth, and ultimately deludes themselves into believing it to be wrong? Well, that brings me to Tai Lung. Now, Tai Lung is a fan favourite for a reason, as not only is he fun to watch, but he holds a surprising amount of complexity, especially because of his origin. While an unforgivable one, it's definitely understandable, as it's quite tragic. Tai Lung, for the most of his life, was raised on the belief that he was destined for great things, that he was chosen to be the Dragon Warrior, spending years of his life dedicated to mastering the art of Kung Fu. And yet, after every bit of sacrifice, after every promise that he was special, that he was destined to be this great warrior, when faced with the truth that he simply will not be that warrior, he broke. As his truth, the truth he believed for so long, that he was destined to be the greatest warrior of them all, turned out to be a lie. And instead of embracing the truth like Poe did, he instead chooses to live in the lie, deluding himself into believing that regardless of what the truth says, he is indeed worthy of being the Dragon Warrior, as he put in the dedication, the hard work, and the sacrifice that nobody else has. He's earned the mantle more than anyone else, and it's this way of thinking that ultimately leads to his own downfall. Instead of accepting the truth, he instead chooses to not believe it, and to continue to believe the lie, deluding himself into thinking everyone was wrong. Like Oogway, because ultimately that pain of everything you have worked so hard for to be a lie is a reality he simply doesn't want to face. He doesn't want to admit that Oogway was right about him, that Shifu was wrong about him, and despite him hating Shifu for all he did to him, a part of him still wishes he was right about him, but he can't accept that reality. And in a way, I can't really blame him. After all, he never asked to have these expectations put on him. He never asked to have these dreams. This was all Shifu's doing. So while it doesn't excuse him, it does give reason behind his madness. As after all, he was raised on a lie. And so this is a case of what happens when you don't give the truth and instead choose to force a lie on someone. No matter how pretty that lie is, believing in a lie will always lead to bad consequences. Consequences that could have been avoided. And nowhere is that more evident than in the final chapter of Kung Fu Panda's Truth with the denial, an ultimate creation of prophecy with Shen. Lord Shen is such a fantastic villain. He's menacing, he's cruel, and unlike Tai Lung, who's more tragic, Shen is so much more arrogant, as it's his own actions that ultimately lead to the truth happening. It was his own decision to be a rude and selfish prince. It was his decision to go down a darker route, with nobody forcing anything on him. Shen's main conflict throughout this movie is his battle with destiny. Destiny essentially being the truth that has yet to unfold. And so when a prophecy was foretold that a warrior in black and white would defeat him, he could not accept that. Just like Tai Lung, he could not accept what the truth was. But what makes Shen so much more interesting is that despite him being against his fate, it is ultimately his decisions that make that fate a reality. If Shen had never attacked the Panda village, never killed Poe's mother, or even re-emerged from where he was hiding in the mountains, then Poe would never have beaten him. This is the ultimate consequence of the truth, and despite how much we try to change it or avoid it, in denying it, we often lead to it coming true. Shen's fate was sealed the moment he decided to do those horrific acts. He ultimately created the very thing that would destroy him, fulfilling his own prophecy without even knowing. To me, Kung Fu Panda is a franchise that had everything going against it, and yet managed to surprise everyone time and time again, and in particular, the perfect example as to how you handle the theme of the truth, with multiple sides being shown of that theme and why it's such an underrated method for storytelling, because the idea of the truth, as proven here, can be used for so much, whether that be a conflict, a tragedy, or even a means to inspire. The truth is something that can be very hard to accept, but it's only when we do accept it that we can truly evolve and grow as people. Because if we instead choose to believe in a lie, fail to stand for what the truth is, then we are destined to make the same mistakes over and over again. And instead of fighting it, we should learn from it, see beyond those blank pages, and become better versions of ourselves in doing so. There's a lot more to this theme than what I have covered here today, so if you'd like me to make a part 2 where I cover the truth of Oogway, Shifu, and the Furious Five, then be sure to comment down below saying that you want a part 2. And if enough people say it, I'll make a part 2 to this video. But for now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was something I've wanted to make for a while, and I hope that you learned something from this. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, and with that peeps, it's been the Pink King here, and I will see you all next time.